Lesson 238. Into God's presence. For many, the idea of God can be intimidating. They see him as an ultimate, supernatural being who watches from above, ready to punish the wicked and reward the righteous. Some even view him as unfair or as someone who demands glory at the cost of their obedience. But this perspective often leads to unrest because it misrepresents the essence of God's presence. The absence of peace in such thinking reflects the absence of God's presence in their lives. Our God is a God of discipline and harmony. Everything he created exists in perfect balance, even if we cannot always understand his ways. In life's most challenging moments, when answers seem elusive, he is there, giving us what we need to endure. Day by day, even in our lowest points, his presence sustains us. He is in every breath we take. As King David beautifully expressed in Psalm 139, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast." This truth is why you can find goodness even in darkness and hope in despair. God's love is relentless. He continually pursues you, drawing you closer to him. Even if you try to ignore him, his love remains steadfast and available. He is patient with you, waiting for you to come back home. You can reject him, but he will keep on loving you unconditionally. For he knows you more than you know yourself, and he understands the confusion you are going through, even if for you is sensible knowledge. It is only in time, when you come to the truth and the knowledge of his word, that you will renew your love with him. Now, imagine for a moment a world devoid of God's presence. The sheer thought is horrifying. Everything beautiful and good exists because of God's presence. Without it, chaos reigns. It is the perfect definition of God's wrath. Revelation speaks of a time when people will experience the full absence of God's presence. They will long for death, but it will elude them. They will cry out to the mountains and rocks, "Fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb." Yet even the rocks will flee, leaving them to endure unimaginable agony. Such agony they suffer is compared to the sting of a scorpion when it strikes. Some might scoff at the idea of God's presence, mocking believers and questioning God's existence. But in truth, the absence of God's presence signifies the reality of his wrath. There is no in between. The Israelites experienced a glimpse of this when they took God's leadership and presence for granted. Despite repeated warnings from his prophets, their disobedience led to their exile in Babylon. It was there they lamented in the book of Psalm 137. "By the rivers of Babylon, we sat and wept when we remembered Zion. How can we sing the songs of the Lord while in a foreign land?" The foreign land symbolized a place without God's peace, leaving their hearts broken and their spirits crushed. God had temporarily removed his presence, and they felt the full weight of life without him. These things were written not as a mere history of the people from the past. Rather, it was to show you what is to come and the things we can learn from people who went through similar experience. You do not want to find yourself in a situation where God's presence no longer exists in your life. When humanity fell into sin, we broke the bond that united us with God. Sin concealed his face from us, but through his boundless love, he provided redemption through his Son, Jesus Christ. Because of Jesus, you now have the right to be called children of God, restoring your relationship with him. When you are in Christ, it is no longer you who live, but Christ who lives in you. This is why God calls us to draw near to him. Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up. James 4, 7 to 8. Do not waste your energy trying to fight sin, rather resist it. Do not put yourself in a situation that will compromise God's presence in your life, thinking that you will endure it. God asks you to resist sin and say no to disobedience while saying yes to Him. The way of the world leads to destruction, but God, the author of your life, can lift you above any trouble if you remain in His presence. Jesus said, "I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing." John 15, 5. In His presence, there is strength, peace, and purpose. Apart from Him, life becomes meaningless and chaos. As you reflect on these truths, choose today to embrace God's presence fully. Submit your life to Him, resist sin, and draw near to His love. In doing so, you will experience the fullness of life He intends for you, a life rooted in His eternal presence.